Hi, I live in Ontario, Canada, and we've just had a real winter weekend. I planned to take a trip to visit family this weekend, and the weather was looking like it would be a real challenge. Stick around, see how it turned out. My name's John, I'm a Canadian. I usually travel internationally and record those, but I've decided that even a local trip, a couple of hours away to Toronto, Ontario, might be worth documenting, particularly because the weather's a bit challenging and I don't know how it's going to turn out. I live about 2 hours from Toronto, and right now it looks pretty clear here, so I hope I get there before the snow starts. Part of the tradition for any Canadian on a road trip is to stop at a roadside Tim Hortons just to grab a coffee and take a break. I guess I should tell you really what my plan is. I live about 2 hours east of Toronto, and I've got family who live just outside of Toronto. And so I'm coming to have a little visit with them for the weekend. My grandson is a cheerleader at one of the universities here, and he's in a competition that's on the other side of Toronto this afternoon, so we're going to go to that. And tomorrow, my plan is to take the GO train into Toronto, and I'm going to see Martha Burns and Paul Gross in a production of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. These are actors that I've always really admired, and I'm looking forward to seeing them in person. I hope that the weather doesn't foul up our plans for this afternoon or for tomorrow. So although this is only weekend travel, it is a little bit of a solo excursion for the weekend. Ontario travelers in the winter are always watching the weather, and we never know quite what's going to happen. So far, I've been pretty lucky. It's pretty dreary, but there's been no snow so far, and I'm hoping that that will hold for a bit. The main snowfall is supposed to happen tomorrow. It looks like it's going to be a fair dump. So stay tuned to see if it actually impacts my travel. So phase one is done. I've arrived at my daughter's place. I'm going to have a little bit of a break here, and then we're heading to the other side of Toronto, but she'll be driving. As you can see, the weather is not promising. All this white on the radar is the approaching storm. Hope it doesn't cause us any problems. So we've made it to the other side of Toronto. The weather was a little bit rough, but I hope it's clear for us going home. And now we're at the Collegiate National Cheerleading Championships. Looking forward to seeing the Queen's team coming up soon. So this has got me wondering whether I should form a seniors cheerleading team. What do you think? What could be more Canadian? Getting up at 6 in the morning, scraping snow off the car, and going to the arena to sit in the cold and watch your granddaughter play hockey. She even scored a goal. Yeah! Make that 2 goals. So I'm on my way into Toronto, trying to hit the theater. It's really nasty out there. I'm on the GO train, so that's working out all right so far. Let's see how it goes. So I've been able to snag a couple of rush seats to the play that I wanted to see, and we're just walking along Front Street to go to the theater. It's about a half-hour walk. It's snowing, it's not very busy, but it's actually a very pleasant wintry walk. One of the things I like about making my own plans and travel arrangements is that I can be flexible. As it turns out, my daughter was available to be free this afternoon to join me at the show. And if I hadn't waited to buy tickets, we would have been separated or it would have been more difficult to get it. Now, through the week, I was following on the theater's website, and I knew that there were tickets that would be available this afternoon. And if you called in within 2 hours of the start of the show, you could get tickets at a much reduced price. I ended up getting tickets that would have been $171 for $45 a piece. It was a bargain. So that made the afternoon even more exciting. So we just come out of the show and it was excellent, really good. But we had a little bit of a challenge before we got there. Just after I recorded the last video, we arrived at the theater about half an hour before the show was set to begin, and I took a picture outside, and there was a sign on the door which said, "Virginia Woolf is not at this theater. It's at another theater on Front Street right by Union Station," just where we'd come from. And we'd spent about a half an hour wandering down to the theater, and we certainly were worried that we weren't going to get back in time. We hustled along the street, pushed people aside, and plowed through the snow, and luckily we made it in time to get our tickets and see the show. I think I've said I usually like to plan things ahead. Well, I guess I just didn't see that the theater wasn't the Canadian Stage Theater on Berkeley Street, but another theater on Front Street. It turned out okay, however, and it's certainly been worth the effort. It's Monday morning. It's early. Everybody in my family is asleep except me. So I'm going to head over to the local Tim Hortons to get a coffee. As you can see, there's a lot of snow along on the street. But this morning, the sun is shining, and it looks like it'll be easier for me to make my trip back home. Last night we had a bit of a glitch in that the battery died on my remote for my car, so I couldn't unlock the car. And then when I figured out how to get in with a key, the alarm kept going off because it felt like I was an intruder. So that was a bit of an adventure. We ended up finding a YouTube video on how to replace the battery and got it set up. And I think this morning it's working okay. Although I'm reluctant to try it at the moment because it's only 6:45. I'm afraid that the car will start honking and making an alarm again. So I'm going to wait. Wish me luck. There's snow everywhere. We've had a real blizzard here, and I'm about to drive back home. I've had a really nice weekend. There have been some glitches, but all in all, I've had a visit with family, and I've been able to take in a theater piece that I really wanted to see. I've gone to some of my grandkids' activities, and it's been great. Now, you might wonder what this has to do with solo travel. Well, the thing is, you don't have to go to Florida, or you don't have to go to the Caribbean to have a nice little adventure. Think about traveling. Get in the car, get on the train, or go somewhere for a weekend. Plan it, and you can enjoy it. One of the benefits of being on your own is that you can set up your own time and do the things that you really want to do. So I'd really suggest that you try and do that. It certainly enriches my life to be able to do this, and I'm going to keep doing it as long as I can.